Hello, and today I'm going to be talking to you about various Kickstarters I'm interested in. So let's start off with one that's literally about to finish. Confrontation, classic the legendary skirmish game. Now this game isn't really a game, it's actually the classic skirmish miniature games from Rackham. Now this is really exciting, and this funded up to something like £700,000, and I thought it was going to go bigger than that, over £1 million, no trouble at all. However, when you started digging into this project, various little red flags came up. Now, Confrontation, if you're not aware of it, was a really cool skirmish game, quite complex, that was done by Rackham, got to be at least 10 years ago now. Unfortunately, it died along with Rackham when they ventured into, what was it, Confrontation Ragnarok and AT43, which were pre-painted plastics. Now, everyone assumed that when this game company kind of launched, they were either going to go with something called Confrontation Resurrection, or they were going to reissue all the classic figures in metal. They've decided to go with PVC, so that set off a few alarm bells. In addition, they then failed to demonstrate any actual PVC sort of finished product. It was all metal and resin pre-paints, and the comments have been really toxic. And it's a bit of a shame because this looks like a really good Kickstarter, but there's a few little red flags there. So it's definitely one that I was interested in, but I didn't back. But why am I showing you this? Well, I'm showing it to you because it did cause a little bit of stink for this next Kickstarter, which is Legends of Signum. Now this looks quite interesting, and as you can see, this has got 29 days to go at the time of me recording this. And this game is interesting. There's bits about it I don't like. It's got this sort of weird collectible card element, which is a bit iffy. All the miniatures apparently are resin, which is also, depends on the resin. That could be good, could be bad. It's either soft, sort of floppy stuff, or brittle stuff that snaps as soon as you look at it. So I'm not 100% convinced by it being resin. But if you look at the miniatures, let's skip to the campaign page, they are pretty impressive. So we've got a load of stretch goals here that have all been unlocked, and let's quickly scroll past those. Now, you've got a little video that sort of tells you how the game plays, which looks, fairly interesting. Plus there's a PDF copy of the rules, there's its own little lore. But you get into the miniatures and look at these, they are lovely, and they've got a real sort of Rackham look about them. Well, that shouldn't really surprise you, because a lot of the sculptors who have designed these figures were actually Rackham sculptors. So, for example, this is very Mid-Nor dwarf-ish, and this is very, I want to say Wolfen, I can't remember their correct name now. And you've got some more detailed pictures here, and just lovely. Anyway, you probably don't want to see me scrolling through. You can come and do that for yourself. But there's this really good deluxe box where you get all these extra figures. Now, I particularly like this box set because of these samurai orcs, which look pretty cool. This pirate orc, he's looking good as well. And then you've got some samurai wolf men as well. So that's a really cool looking campaign. You definitely want to go check it out. But there are a couple of little red flags on this. Now, the people behind this, I believe, originally were Cadvalian, who apparently were some Ukrainian sort of dodgy recasters, allegedly, according to the Confrontation people. So obviously check it out for yourself, but this does look like a really good campaign. And I'm tempted to back this. Now that you can back it at $10, and that will then allow you to buy the optional add-ons. So for example, if you wanted, that's probably not the best figure to pick. Let's say you wanted just these figures here, you could basically add them on as optional extras. And that's what I might be tempted to do, because I don't necessarily want the game, but I wouldn't mind these samurai orcs to go with my sort of Tibetan orcs that I've got from Confrontation, for example. So there you go. Let's move on to some other minis. Spies and Patriots, 28mm Cold War era miniatures. These would be really good for any sort of James Bondy, crooked dice, any sort of weird, wonderful game like that. So definitely worth checking out. You've got about 12 days to go, and there's a pretty good series of minis for a reasonable price there. Right, now as you know, I'm really into 3D printing, so you might want to check out this 3D printing thing. It's pretty cheap price, and yeah, they look okay, and with a bit of decorative elements, it could be worth checking out. But I don't know, I'm not sure how well this one's going to do. I'm not sure it's quite exciting enough. I'm probably going to pass on it, but it's definitely something that made me think, well, maybe I should check out other 3D printing projects. And for example, there's this one that looks pretty impressive. Now the problem I do have is I've got quite a lot of 3D terrain parts, and I want to make sure they're all compatible with each other, and I don't want to end up with tons and tons of stuff. So I'm not sure about this. I've only got 3 days left to decide whether I want in on this. It looks quite interesting, and if you scroll down, for example, Ultimate Complete Set, 107 Canadian dollars, which is about £62. So I don't know, that's quite a tempting one, and there's some really nice looking stuff, really good potentially for something like Battletech, or I guess you could maybe try it with Legion if you're into the Star Warsy type stuff. So lots of really cool stuff in there, and also of course 40k, you know, you could almost use these as drop pods, I'm guessing. Anyway, do we have any more 3D? Yes, here you go. So we've got some more stuff. Again, suffers with the same potential problem of the other Kickstarters for 3D printing, where you think, well, do I need more? But you know, you've got a cool spaceship with a landing pad, and then you've got various bunkers and crates and all that. So that looks like quite a nice one. Again, check that one out. Full pledge, €40, which is what, £35. So that's a pretty good deal. Definitely one worth checking out. It has funded, so you should be good to go on that one. Okay, we're going to move away from 3D printing stuff. We will actually, hold on, let's catch it while I'm thinking about it. This one does look quite good. You've got 9 days on this. That's just a really cool piece. The problem is how much to get everything. Well, €25, so about £20. And I must admit that is quite tempting, but it looks like a bit of a beast to print out. So I don't know, do you want this? I'm very tempted by this sort of generic fantasy. You could probably use it in 40k as well, and of course trees are always good, lots of various trees, so definitely one worth checking out. Anyway, let's go back to Alhambra. Now this is the designer's edition, and as you can see, you've got loads of stuff. Alhambra's a pretty cool game. Really pleased to see this getting a nice deluxe version, and it looks like you can get in for £34 on that, but you need to read the bits. So for example, there's a whole load of extra stuff here, some nice little iconography, but I mean, Alhambra just as the base game might be enough. Do you really need all these expansions or modules? So I don't know. I mean, something for you to go check out. It's a fun little game, and it's, you know, it's an evergreen, I think. Not to everyone's taste, but you know, pretty good fun game, and definitely worth checking out. Right, the Omen Saga. Now this is a new version of the Omen, which was originally by Small Box Games. I am very interested in this, but I believe there might be an upgrade for people who have the Omen, the original like 2-player battle game, which I would be tempted by. Not much time left on this. I'm currently not backing it because part of the problem is I've actually got the Omen. I haven't even played it yet, so it does look quite nice, but you know, if you are a fan of the Omen and want to upgrade, or you want to get in on a game because it's been kind of out of print for a while, definitely one to check out. Exo. Now Exo is getting a bit of buzz. I'm not sure about it. It's got some elements that look quite kind of interesting, kind of a wander around the map trying to evolve. It gives me that vibe of well, you know, you've got animals which are bio enhanced with a bit of technological stuff, so it reminds me a bit of was it Horizon Zero Dawn, is it, on the PlayStation? It reminds me a bit of that. It's probably nothing like that, to be honest, but it's got some nice artwork. Definitely one worth checking out, and as I say, it's been getting a lot of buzz, and of course there's click to download stuff, which is always good. Looks excellent, and apparently Tom Vassell has commented on it, so definitely one worth checking out. I don't know too much about it, but 6 days to go. You know, it's doubled its pledge level requirement, so it's looking quite good. Right, let's get back to some minis. The Orc Warband. This is a lovely little Kickstarter which I'm very tempted by. I love these orcs, full of characters, and if you're wondering, do they look like other people's orcs? Well, yes, they do, because they're sculpted by Kev Adams. Now, I believe I do have some Kev Adams orc and goblins somewhere, so I am tempted by these. Unfortunately, I think there's about 5 sets of orcs, which seem to be about 3 orcs per pack, so you probably need to go in at something like the £45 sort of level to get 5 sets of miniatures. So It's not the cheapest Kickstarter. It works out, I don't know, £3-ish a mini. So not the cheapest. And there's also a funky little basilisk you can always buy yourself as an add-on. But there's some really cool minis in there, and obviously Kickstarter stretch goals and extra bits. So definitely one to check out if you're into your kind of old school D&D, early GW style minis. Ogre Minis, another blast from the past. Now, unfortunately, if you're in Europe, this is for America only, so you're actually going to have to go to Warehouse 23, I want to say, to back it. But you get the plastic minis and the rule book. Looks really interesting. However, of course, if you're over in America, you can get yourself a printed copy, and some of this stuff looks pretty impressive. I mean, those minis do look good. So definitely one worth checking out, and of course a good way to bling out your ogre game if you're into playing this sort of thing without having hex encounters. But there you go. Kodama Duo. Now, Kodama is a really cute game, and I really like it. Now, apparently this is a way of playing it two-player, which is interesting. And let's see, can we get so look at this artwork. It's lovely stuff, and you're trying to grow your tree. I'm not sure that's a legal placement there. No, okay, that's 2 trunk cards. So you're trying to put these branches onto the trunk cards, and then you've got your little dudes who give you little bonuses. Lovely little game. Definitely worth checking out, and of course you can always do a Rado runs through. Just make sure you've got his subtitles on for any rules errors that you might have accidentally made. I have a lot of sympathy for him when I do my video recording. You're trying to think 2-player parts, you're trying to explain the rules, film the rules. It's so easy to make a small error without realising. So definitely worth checking out that one. Again, one I'm tempted by, but my funds are limited, so I'm not sure it's going to make the cut for me, but definitely a game I want to play if someone picks it up. Heavy Gear Blitz, again back to minis. Now this is a great way to get your plastic stompy robots. I believe this is a 15mm scale sort of game, and they kind of whiz around on like little skates with rockets and stuff. Very interesting. Always been interested in this due to my interest in BattleTech. However, I've got 3D printout files for MechWarrior Online now, so my desire for this has dropped away a bit. But it looks like it's doing pretty well, and you know, it's a fun little game. It's funded. Definitely one worth checking out if you're into your stompy robots. Okay, Slumber in Oblivion. We're back to miniatures again here. This looks really cool, kind of deep 1E type Cthulhu inspired minis. I'm not so sure about the guns they're holding. If they didn't have the guns, I'd probably be more excited by these. Hopefully there's an option to have, you know, if these are glue on arms, that you can have an unarmed whatever they are. So that's looking kind of interesting. So pick one model from the initial 5. That's going to cost you £9. Get all of them for about £37. So definitely one for those of you who are into your sort of Cthulhu-esque stuff. But these guys looking a little bit sci-fi with the guns. Be great to see this one getting funded. It's a little bit short at the moment. Not sure I'm going to back it. I've got loads of Cthulhu Wars stuff, so I probably don't need too much more Cthulhu stuff. Although, what am I saying? You'd be mad not to have too much Cthulhu stuff. Let's move on to something that's really exciting then. Orcquest Warpath. Now this game is tempting me. The way I would describe it, it's a bit like Hero Quest, except you're the baddies. You're the orcs fighting off the evil heroes. So this is a really slick French campaign by the looks of it. Now you can go in at the Goblin Pledge for about £70, but it looks like you want to go in at the £79 pledge, and there is one limited spot available here, which is tempting me, but I don't know. Do I want it? But yeah, I probably do, but I need to resist. But it's got some cool AI for the baddies who patrol around the board, and then you draw these like AI cards, and it will say like, oh, one of the guards stops to go for a pee. So that's pretty cool. And as you can see, that the page is really well presented. The minis look pretty good, although these probably 3D renders. It'd be nice to see actual sculpts, which I think we do get to see at some stage. Here you go, there's the guard going for AP. And then you've got this little board here with some lovely artwork. So this is looking really, really slick. I do like the look of this, and this is the deal to go in. So you've got your little exclusive hero, who I guess is an orc shaman, female orc shaman. The gnolls, interestingly enough, seem to be all female, and that's based around the fact that gnolls here are being represented as hyenas, and hyenas are dominated by the females. So that's a pretty cool touch, although at the moment the sculpts all look the same, so it'd be interesting to see. And just look at these minis, they are really, really nice. I like the little goblin, he's a bit of fun, and the wizard here. And then you've got your baddies, evil humans, soldiers, guards, war dogs, knights, some officers, and then an enchanter, and I do love the cockatrice, that's great. So really, really like the look of this campaign. Very, very tempted by this one. So let's not close the tab, let's just drag that over there as one for me to think about. Okay, let's move back to more traditional board games here. Martin Wallace's Lincoln ACW board game. Now this is intriguing. Martin Wallace and Plastic Soldier Company have got together. Interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about this. Counters? Surely Plastic Soldier Company would be wanting to do minis, but then again, they did have problems with their Great War Command and Colours game, which there is like a new sort of, it's not quite 2.0, but like a 2.0 version where they've pre-clipped the minis for you. So maybe for this they've decided to stick with counters. Does look interesting. If you're a fan of Martin Wallace, I guess you've probably already backed this, but definitely one to be aware of. Very interesting. Black Rose Wars, another campaign that's due to end soon. This has been hyped all over the place. Tabletop and various other channels have really hyped this one, and it does look interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about it. The minis again are lovely, and I mean, look at those chests. You can never have too many chests. I can see why people are hyped about this. The gameplay seems interesting, and look at all these unlocks. It's a really intriguing game, this. I haven't looked into it enough to be able to comment on it, and you'll notice on a lot of these Kickstarters I'm just saying, hey, these look interesting, I want to look at these more closely, you might want to too, whereas some other Kickstarters I'm all over, and I'm going to actually be talking to you about one in great detail in a second. Anyway, let me move on. Oh, look at that, that's just magnificent. Right, let's move on quickly. PostHuman. Well, PostHuman is a game that has intrigued me. This PostHuman Saga is a totally different game, apparently, not to be confused. I really like the look of this. Not sure I'm going to back it, but I think you want these mini add-ons. They just look great. Definitely one I'm going to look at with my gaming group, see if someone's going to back this, because I'd love to play this. This does look good. But I've got some other bits that I want to talk about. So I want to talk about Hellboy. Obviously I want to have another look at Orcquest, and there's also another Kickstarter I want to show you. But before I do that, let's just show you Darwin's Choice. Now Darwin's Choice, really nice looking game. You've got this sort of grow your own creature thing going on. Lovely little project, beautiful artwork, definitely one to check out. Again, I think this one's not going to make the cut for me. So now I've shown you a whole load of stuff that I'm interested in but possibly not going to back, because obviously funds are limited. Let's cut away and come back to the 3 Kickstarters that I'm interested in, and spoiler alert, Orcquest and Hellboy are 2 of the 3 I'm interested in. Okay, well, we've got my top 3 picks out of all the Kickstarters I want to show you. So obviously I've already shown you quite a lot of Orcquest Warpath, so let's just quickly go through the stretch goals. So some extra cards, some lousy rats, a sewers terrain tile, some extra upgrades, a scenario, a hero, some loot, some more rats, some more loot, another new scenario, some more events, and hold on, we seem to be going back into stuff, and then some mystery thing to unlock. So lots of really cool stuff coming in. The updates have been pretty good, rolling in nicely, and the comments are looking pretty lively as well. So this one has got legs. As I say, it is very tempting, and relatively speaking the price is pretty good to get involved in this. As I say, only £86, which if they can deliver all this, I think it's going to be fun. It's very much sort of hero quest for the modern era. So definitely one to really have a close look at. Now, talking of fun little games, Hellboy. Now Hellboy, when it first came out, I wasn't that interested in it. It was Mantic, been a little bit burnt out with Mantic, and Hellboy, I'm a fan of, but I'm not a massive fan of. But the more I've been reading about it, the more interested I've been getting, in particular because The designer, James Hewitt, he has been really good at engaging with the community, both on Board Game Geek and on Kickstarter and on wherever else he hangs out. And it looks pretty good. Now, the best deal is to basically get the early bird. Well, that's gone, so you're going to have to pledge £95, and for that you're going to get the retail box. You're also going to get, in classic Mantic style, a free expansion, another free expansion, another free expansion, another free expansion, another free expansion, an exclusive, and pretty cool, a comic. There's also a load of add-ons which are coming, and they look pretty impressive. And then there's this Mexico expansion, which I'm not 100% sold on, but hey, it's a reasonable price and it's more stuff, which is good. And then some rather generic 3D scenery, which is a recycle of their terrain pack and the Dungeon Saga stuff. And it's really good quality, the Dungeon Saga stuff, for example, the doors. So not too bad, and a lovely folding dice tray. There's also resin add-ons, which I'm not so keen on, although there is a transparent resin figure for £10 that looks really cool. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed by all that. But the actual minis, by Mantic standards, they're really nice looking sculpts, obviously beautifully painted here, and the artwork's pretty cool, and the game actually looks pretty decent. I recommend you do check out some of the playthroughs. Now, if you're a hardcore Hellboy fan, you might be a little bit disappointed with some of the sculpts and some of the theme of the game, but if you're a games player like me who's also just vaguely interested in Hellboy, I think it's really good looking game for a decent price, and of course it's got this lovely artwork and everything. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed with how the game's looking, so I am very tempted to go in and back on this one, because Mantic always gives you a bucket load of value for your money, and the gameplay looks pretty decent on this as well. So this review and this playthrough are well worth watching, but you've also got these other videos here. Just check them out, and also have a look at the live chat feed, which, if I scroll all the way back, making you all motion sick, have a watch of this live QA, which was pretty good. So definitely check that out. Really good thing. If you're a Hellboy fan, you're probably already in on this. If you're a Mantic fan, you're probably already on this. If you're not a Mantic fan, well, maybe check it out, because the sculpts are pretty good, the rules look pretty good, and you know, Mantic are pretty decent people. So definitely one worth checking out. And as I say, comments and updates, good. Everything's been ticked here, and you know you're going to get your stuff eventually with Mantic. The Dungeon Saga stuff, I think there's one adventure book they promised that people are moaning about not receiving, but everyone eventually got their stuff despite some problems on Dungeon Saga. And let's see what my number one pick is. Well, it's actually Godslayer, so let's come back to that and talk about that in a second. Right, Godslayer, Blood and Bronze. Now, this is the second Kickstarter for Godslayer. Now, I hadn't really heard of this, but this is a really cool game, well worth checking out. Now, Wave 1 was effectively Godslayer Legends or something, I can't remember now. This Godslayer is for Wave 2. Now, the game's been around 4-ish years, I believe, and one of the problems it's had, I think, is it's gone through a bit of a management turnover. I think the two people who set up Godslayer, one guy's gone off and set up his own company, whereas another guy stayed. I don't know the exact details. You can read all about it on things like Daka and various other places. But what I really like about this is it's got that sort of Confrontation, War Machine, Horde sort of vibe, where it's a small skirmish game with fairly crunchy rules, lots of cool little mechanics, stack cards for your miniatures, activations for your miniatures, and really good tactical flexibility. The sculpts are a bit mixed though. Some of the Wave 1 stuff is pretty ugly, some of it's pretty good though, and some of it's absolutely gorgeous. Wave 2 is, I think, a little bit more consistent in the quality front, and there is talk of a Wave 3, so I'm not sure if that's going to be another Kickstarter or is going to unlock with this campaign as it goes. Unfortunately, it's a little bit underfunded at the moment. It's £15,000 well, almost £16,000 out of a 40,000 goals. So that's a little bit concerning. However, you can actually buy Wave 1 stuff right now if you don't want to take a chance on Kickstarter. And Godslayer, as I say, definitely looks worthwhile getting into. And what I really like about it is the turn structure is sorted out so that you activate either 2 solo units or a unit and a solo. Now, in the game, you've got your warlord who leads your band of warriors. You then have solos, which are sort of like heroes, I guess. And then you've got your units, which are groups of 3, 4, 6, 8, 10 dudes. You've also got some large beasties as well. Now, it's got this weird sort of mythical with some hints to the real world going on. So you've got your Greeks and your Romans, but they're not called Greeks and Romans. They're called something else. So the wild folk are your sort of barbarian-y, druid-y Celts. Your Nordgard are your sort of Vikings. Your Mortons, I believe, are the kind of Romans. Your Halodines are your Greeks. And then you've got Troglodytes, I think, which are your sort of shadow, undeady, trolly type people. Now, Godslayer round breakdown with Beasts of War, that's not a bad way of sort of seeing how the game goes. You've got a little intro video by the sort of guy running Godslayer, and these are the wild folk. These are pretty cool sculpts. I particularly like this guy here, and I think this is a wild folk mini. That, I think, is one of the Greeky factions. That is possibly an undead figure for the Romans. And this is obviously your Viking sort of guy. And then that, I think, is an Amazon for the Greeky faction. So it talks about how to go through. So you've got your intro pledge, which is quite cheap. £48. You get a starter box for a faction from Wave 2. And also a rule book, so that's not a bad little way of getting in. This is a much better deal though. You actually get 2 factions, so you've got your Greeks versus your Beastmen, the kind of what's it, Bane Brood, with a kind of giant bear porcupine beastie, and Cerberus. And I do like the infantry figures. Pretty good value, I think, to get into a game there. So what is it? $120, is it? £92. You get a foam carry case, which isn't the best, but it's not bad, and a complete battle force, and that's it. You, in theory, don't need to buy anything else, although you probably do want to. Now, if you go to the next level, you get some extra books, and yeah, it looks good. All in, you get the battle box. You get the extra books, you get the add-on boxes, so you get all these extra guys. So these are the Bane Brood, and these are the, what are the Halodines? Yeah, these are the Halodines, the Amazonians, which look pretty cool. You also get this Nemesis, and yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. The Chimera looks interesting, and the Hero, yeah, I suppose that's not bad. I think these are for the beasties and these are for the Greeks, so there's the details there. But at £210 it's not brilliant value, but it's not bad. Add-ons, well, obviously you've got your Nemesis, your rule books and your battle box, but you've also got various Wave 2 starter packs, so these come in the all-in pledge. But you've also got the other factions, so you've got your Mortan Roman type guys. I really like the look of this wild folk set with the kind of guy when he's normal and when he goes berserk, and the Woad brothers, and I just really like the look of that. And of course it's a standalone little battle box if you want to. You've then got your Vikings and your Trogs. They're looking pretty cool. But there's also the option to add on the Wave 1 stuff, which, as I say, is a bit mixed. Now, I do quite like the sculpts in here. They're quite nice. I quite like the sculpts in here with this shaman as your warlord rather than this kind of big beastie beat stick guy. And you've then got this sort of human berserker flesh eaters, which yeah, I don't know, they all look quite good. £66 though, which is again not cheap. Now the problem is they're not cheap because they're metal minis, and metal minis have become really expensive these days. And the sculpts, as I say, a little bit hit and miss for me, but mostly positive. your Greek factions. So I believe this is the sort of original sort of faction box, but you've got like a giant statue, you've got Cerberus, you've got this floating priestess, you've got some beast riders here, really cool. A bit further down you've got your Romans. My favourite is the Undead Legion, but you've also got these technical guys who throw like little napalm bombs and catapults, and then yeah, I think that's sort of the original beatstick guys. You've then got the Vikings, who are dwarves, Vikings, and I think this is an ogre. I'm not sure I like these guys, but some of them look pretty cool. And then the Troglodytes, who are another faction I like. I really like the Twilight Horde. And then these guys are quite cool. They're little goblins with giant, powerful bows that they have to lie down on the floor and kind of use their whole body to do. So yeah, pretty cool options there. But my favourite faction, I think, is the Wild Folk. Now, this is a resculpt. Unfortunately, I haven't resculpted these Druids, who I really hate. I really don't like these figures. But the rest of the stuff I really, really like. So, you know, I like everything here apart from the Druids. So, yeah, I mean, what do I back if I go in on this? Anyway, stretch goals. We've got fairies, nemesises, and various other bits. And as you can see, 70mm resin cast. So some of these figures look pretty cool. But as I say, some of them not so good. And unfortunately, not the cheapest thing to get into. But if you're not sure, download the Quick Start rules. Download, I believe that you can actually download pretty much the whole of the actual rule book, if I remember correctly. So that's pretty cool. And you can also download the profile cards to give you a bit of an idea. The comments are starting to liven up a bit, and in fact, I believe, based on a comment I've made, they are actually going to make it a bit easier to work out how to build your factions, because if you actually open up the profile cards, you will discover that some units you can only have one of, some you can have maybe as many as 4 as, and when you're building your force, some units you need to apply upgrades to, and it's a little bit confusing, I think, from reading up by yourself. So it'd be nice to have a little video or explanation. So I think they're working on that, so it'd be really cool if they do that, and that shows that they are looking to build a community. And a lot of people who've got into this game are really quite fanatical about it, and as I say, it's got that real kind of War Machine, Hordes, Confrontation vibe to it, which means it's going to be really good. There's also a little how to play video, which I'm not so keen on. I actually prefer the original how to play videos from the original Kickstarter. It then tells you how to pledge, who they are, shipping and all that stuff. On the updates, there are quite a few updates in here. The most recent update is Wild at Heart, which is the Wild Folk, but I'm just going to quickly show you this one, and then I think we'll be done for the video. So the Macabre Imperialism. So it talks a bit about the 3 sub-factions of the Mortans. So you've got the Magistratum, which are the undead faction, what they've got lined up for them. You've got the Legions, which are your sort of more traditional Romans, for want of a better word. And then you've got the Technostratum, which are the people with like the hand grenades and the catapults and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I think I need to wrap this up. I hope you've enjoyed this quick look at these various Kickstarters, but go check them out. Let me just leave you with Wild at Heart, which is the Wild Folk. So yeah, if you like the look of any of those Kickstarters, please check them out. I'm going to try and put all the links into my description. Apologies if I miss out any of them. So just on that basis, let me quickly copy this to make sure it's ready